criticized for going up against law enforcement in America. A world-famous black entertainer can be called a jackass, and that's because most people believe that Kanye West was a jackass anyway. But on top of that, Kanye West had the bona fides established for at least courageous articulation. Kanye West said that George Bush doesn't care for black people. Do you know when you hear George Bush interviewed right now, he says that's still the worst moment of his presidency? You know, he probably would say that's that's still the low point of my presidency when Kanye West implied that I was a racist. He was still pissed. Kanye has that kind of effect. Kanye West also grabbed the microphone from Taylor Swift. A lot of people say you're dumb, you're stupid, that's inarticulate, that kind of rage doesn't speak eloquently, but I don't know. I mean, it was rude what he did, but wow. Can you imagine Chuck Berry at home going, I wish you were there when I was there. I wish there was a Kanye West who could seize the means of amplification when I was being denied my Grammy and instead it was being given to Elvis Presley. I bet you Little Richard was at home. I bet you Little Richard said, go ahead, Kanye. But he said, shut up. I bet you Little Richard said, I wish you were there to seize the means of amplification. Because do you know how many days and how many times so many black and Latino and poor white kids are Taylor Swifted every day? The means of amplification removed from them. Stuff they should get, they don't get. And when they're about to receive it, somebody snatches it away from them. They get done, that gets done to them every day. They get Taylor Swifted every day. I ain't trying to say Kanye West had a conscious intent to subvert the history of white supremacy in denying black amplification, but damn it, that was the consequence. And if that's the consequence, that means then that Kanye West is part of a tradition that's bigger than him. Whether his conscious intentionality was that or not, it's the same way in the negative as the positive. Bigger forces, bigger arcs, bigger trajectories, bigger traditions are at work. I'm not trying to justify what he did to lovely Miss Taylor Swift. She survived. She's even giving counseling to Kanye West. In fact, Kanye helped her out. I think they planned it myself. Because she has won every award since he dissed her. She's going to win the Nobel Prize next year. Because black intemperance interrupted white propriety. And so for me, in the few minutes I got left, when I think about what hip-hop at its best provides, when I think about the history and tradition of commercialization that has emptied out some of the more radical elements of hip-hop, and at the same time challenged America to become all that it should be in regard to people of color, and that hip-hop becomes the more, if you will, progressive means to express ideas that are important, I think at the end of the day, no matter how messed up it is, and no matter how funky, foul, and nefarious are some of the expressions of what hip-hop has put forth, it still remains such a vibrant and vital means of expressing ideas that need to be heard, and people whose toes need to be stepped on, and people who need to be cussed out, and people who need to have obscenity directed at them, and people who need to hear some of the bare truths and the raw realities that constitute the lives of those who suffer. At the end of the day, I don't want to turn it into a religion, because when we apply our analytical lenses to the processes of commodification by which the packaging and distribution of this art form has been emptied of its radical content, at the same time that could be an elitist interpretation of what essentially is an art form generated by people whose backs are against the wall but whose mouths are open even as they continue to swing. That's why the people like Lupe Fiasco, with brilliance intellectually, with lyrical dexterity, with a kind of density of expression in the best sense of that word. You got to keep on listening to what this brother's saying time and time again. Like we were talking earlier about Nas, the same is true about Lupe Fiasco. You can hear some stuff he said 7 years ago, and you still trying to figure out what he be talking about and why he said it that way. That's because it has what literary scholars call a literary future. That's why you keep reading the Bible. You done heard the Bible time and time again. The Holy Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao Te Ching, the art of motorcycle maintenance, whatever you read in the comic books. There's something about the resplendent potential of meaning that is contained in those words that no matter how many times you listen to them, you hear something new, some nuance, some layer of meaning, some potential interpretation is generated. That is the beauty of hip-hop. Yes, despite its commercialization, yes, despite its mass commodification, it still remains one of the potential sites of reproducing real revolutionary change. Not in terms of politics, but in the terms of the politics of self. Because the moment poor black people who are against the wall begin to feel that they are worthy of the commitment they must make to become excellent in everything they can be, that is a revolutionary gesture. That is a profound act of self-determination. That is exercising agency in a way that nobody can ever take from you. And so the beauty of what hip-hop represents to me is the ability to stand up, to tell the truth, to bear witness to the suffering that is evident in the world, and to do it so splendidly, so eloquently, so powerfully, so poetically, that the words that reign will continue to reverberate down through the corridors of history